ICE protesters in Utah say they're hoping to put more pressure on city leaders. What they say they want created to help be preemptive about lawlessness. And new tariffs are impacting Utah businesses. What one local music store owner has to do because of the increased costs. And the Hogle Zoo's newest addition, what the bouncing baby boy's name is.
Live and streaming, this is KSL News Now.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us for KSL News Now. I'm Lori Pritchard. Brian Carlson is here with us on this Wednesday morning, watching our traffic. Thank you very much.
Smooth.
Yes. Also, Matt Johnson, I know the weather department pretty smooth this morning. We would like it to be a little chaotic because we need those winter storms.
I know it sounds a little contrary to what you would think, but yes, we need the inclement weather to return to the west, and we may just get that next week. Here's a look from the University of Utah as the sun starts to come up. We do have some high clouds. You can barely see them here, but we might get a beautiful sunset here. 24 is the current temperature in Logan, 31 in Salt Lake. Now you get into the basin and up at Alta, 20s out there. 42 in St. George with clear skies down in southern Utah. High pressure blocking all the storms. You can see this storm right here trying to ride right over the top of it. And we're not going to see anything really through Sunday. So your forecast, if you're having to work outdoors, I mean, this is music to your ears because you won't have to be dealing with anything cold. In fact, today's highs, Brian, about 10 to 15 above the normal.
Just wild. I mean, it feels like spring, and we're only barely in the beginning of February. Taking a look at your morning drive out this morning, just to give you a bird's eye view of the Salt Lake Valley coming from Utah County, Tooele, Weber Davis. Right now, you have this slight snag right here through Midvale. We showed you that maybe on the broadcast during the 6 o'clock hour. I want to take you into Tooele, where you're seeing some normal slowing through here this morning. Give you that Lake Point view of everyone coming in from that construction zone, trying to get onto I-80. Again, this is a larger backups. As far as the overall view of things here are concerned, let's say you're coming from Ogden, Tooele, Provo. Mostly, once you get past those little small snags, everything's looking good. Lori?
All right, Brian, thank you. This morning, a motorcyclist is fighting for their life in the hospital after a crash. This happened in the middle of an intersection at 6400 South and Highland Drive just before 5:30 Tuesday evening. Police say that motorcyclist was transported to a hospital in critical condition. The driver of the other vehicle is cooperating with this investigation, but so far police are not sure how the crash happened. Police say there were no signs of impairment, and they're trying to figure out more information. ICE protesters in Utah say they hope to put more pressure on Salt Lake City leaders to shut down ICE actions here in Utah. Dozens came together Tuesday night at the Salt Lake City County meetings. The group says it hopes to put more pressure on city leaders to enact ordinances and other measures to shut down actions of ICE. Organizers say they appreciate what the mayor has already done to speak out against certain measures, but they say more needs to be done so what happened in Minneapolis doesn't happen here.
I'm here to ask you to create ordinances to preemptively combat the lawlessness we are seeing in other cities. Specifically, I'm asking you to create a separation ordinance for the police.
After the meeting, they rallied outside of the building. The group says they hope that by coming weekly, they can make their voices heard. Meanwhile, there's a sit-in scheduled at UVU for later today, where students also hope to voice their concerns about ICE in Utah. It's planned for during a DHS recruitment job fair on campus. This morning, the latest partial government shutdown is now over after the House approved a funding bill and President Trump signed it. The vote was 217 for and 214 against. The legislation funds almost all government agencies through September, except for the Department of Homeland Security. Lawmakers now have less than 2 weeks to work out a deal on changes to ICE.
The American people want to see the mask come off. The American people want to see body cameras turned on and mandated. The American people want to see judicial warrants.
There was some resistance from GOP members, but House Speaker Mike Johnson says he is glad the Republican majority got the job done. Lawmakers now have a February 13th deadline to reach a funding deal or risk a potential DHS shutdown. As many Utah businesses navigate the new world of tariffs, a mom-and-pop music store chain says it's closing one of its 3 locations to help counter those added costs. The owner of Riverton Music says he's never faced financial trouble like this in the 6 decades this location has existed. He says products are doubling in price just to purchase, and to ship an instrument, it used to cost him $4,000 or $5,000. Now it's $40,000.
It just becomes more problematic to really stock and to be able to sell enough product to justify the store's existence anymore.
He says in addition to tariffs, inflation has factored in as well, leading to increases in utilities and rent. A petition to bring a multicultural program back to BYU is gaining traction online. The university recently announced the Summer of Academic Refinement program, or SOAR for short, is coming to an end after 25 years because of federal funding cuts. The student who started this petition says this is a blow for students with a multicultural background.
I can't tell you how many people I have spoken to who arrived at BYU and just feel like a fish out of water. They feel so out of place. They don't have connections, they don't have friends, they don't have people that they can relate to, and they don't last.
Amanda Quintana says, if anything, she hopes this petition raises awareness to the importance of diversity programs like this. BYU responding to the petition, saying the university is committed to supporting its students and said in part, university leadership is exploring ways to strengthen student success and college preparedness in ways that reflect BYU's unique spiritual and educational mission. This morning, we're learning more. Hiking and camping areas near the Grand Canyon's North Rim are set to reopen after the devastating Dragon Bravo wildfire. That portion of North Kabob Trail, a segment from the Clear Creek Trail Junction to the Ribbon Falls Junction, will reopen on March 4th. The popular trail joins nearly 8,600 acres of House Rock Valley and about 2.5 miles of other trails that are reopening. Park officials say this marks an important step towards restoring access and plan to review trail conditions after the winter is over. Shakeups at Utah's universities continue. Weber State has opened applications for a new president. The school's former president, Brad Mortensen, moved to Utah State University just a few weeks ago. Utah State Board of Higher Education says they've been gathering feedback, and that input will guide their decision. Applicants can apply for that job on agbsearch.com. All right, let's get to Matt Johnson on this Wednesday morning. Matt, I go jogging every afternoon, and I've noticed in my neighborhood, the trees are budding. You can just see the leaves just starting to peek out.
Yeah, and for good reason. It's been so mild. In fact, remember when we had blossoms right before Christmas? It's wild. So we need to get some storms in here, but it's going to take some time to get there. I've got mild weather through the weekend. 10 to 15 degrees above the normal across the state. I mean, this is a strong high pressure system. Now we've got storm chances returning next week, potentially even into the latter end of February. Now, this is what we've got right now. Satellite and radar showing just some high clouds. Could make for a beautiful sunrise, but that's it. We're not going to squeeze anything out of those guys. It'll stay dry. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s from Logan south to Provo. Out in Castle Country, it's 26, 22 in Vernal. And how about St. George, currently at 42 degrees. Really not bad for a February morning. I've got 50 the forecast high in Logan, 55 in Salt Lake. The normal for Salt Lake City, 41. I've got a 47 in Park City and Moab, topping at 56 today. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll dig into that 7-day forecast and when we might get some wet weather here. That's coming up.
We definitely need some. Thank you much there, Matt. Let's take a look at your morning commute. Starting to see some normal slow patterns out there that you would expect at this hour. West Valley City is one of them. Bangerter Highway headed northbound right here. All that traffic starting to build. In fact, you pop out to the map here. This is one of the biggest slowdowns we're seeing so far this morning. So this is that same area. 3500 south, Bangerter Highway headed north. And you see they're all in the red headed up to the 201. So give yourself some extra time like you would expect, Bangerter and West Valley. Lori?
All right, Brian, thanks. On Utah's Capitol Hill, state lawmakers are looking to improve school safety. House Bill 43 creates the School Safety Support Program. That would pay for new personnel and building renovations. It would also require public and charter schools to submit safety plans and annual safety reports. It would cost the state just over $35 million a year to fund it. And another new bill aimed at protecting construction workers has been introduced into the state legislature. House Bill 245 sets a minimum wage for certain jobs by county. It also establishes requirements for record keeping and creates penalties for companies that don't comply. That could include criminal charges for contractors who don't pay the established minimum wage. Landlord and tenant groups are both opposing a bill which they say would raise rents here in Utah. Right now, property owners claim a tax incentive on their own homes and on housing they rent. Bill sponsor Senator Dan McKay wants to change that, allowing only one exemption, effectively raising property taxes for landlords. McKay says his main concern is home ownership in Utah, but opponents say this bill will only hurt renters.
Costs of providing rental housing are already extravagant. Increasing costs is a bad idea because it will increase rents.
My question for my colleagues is, should we continue this policy where the exemption applies to rentals and we're getting more and more rentals?
This bill has only just started moving through the process. Right now, it's awaiting a vote in the full Senate. A new development in the fight over Utah's congressional maps. A group of state leaders are now suing the lieutenant governor for complying with a judge's order to implement a new map. The group includes Representatives Celeste Malloy, Burgess Owens, sheriffs from Utah, Kane, and Cache counties, St. George's mayor, and commissioners from across Utah counties. Now, the suit claims the new map was unconstitutionally enacted, asking the courts to allow the legislature to select a congressional map. The Utah Democratic Party's chair, Brian King, responded to this on Tuesday, saying in part, quote, "The court was forced to adopt a map that was not gerrymandered because the legislature refused to do its job. The federal district court should reject this desperate effort to avoid the will of Utahns." This all comes as the signature gatherers are running up against the clock to get an appeal on Proposition 4 on the ballot later this year. The proposition bans partisan gerrymandering and was passed by Utah voters back in 2018. Well, last week, the KSL investigators looked into claims that these signature gatherers were not sharing proper information.
So all it is basically they just want to keep Utah red to make that happen.
It's to keep Utah red?
Correct.
Well, you can find this report and get caught up on this story on KSLTV.com. Days after Governor Cox signed a new bill into law, leaders of the Utah State Bar are calling it a slate of proposals an all-out attack on the judiciary.
What we do know is that if you cut away bit by bit into the Constitution and the rule of law, then not only does the judiciary suffer, but our society suffers.
This new law puts more judges on the Court of Appeals and the district courts. Another bill looks to change the makeup of the state sentencing commission, while others would impact how judges are nominated and retained. Senate Republican leaders say they will consider which policies are needed for the courts over the next few weeks. Okay, we're going to bring Matt Johnson back in this morning on this Wednesday and get a look at our forecast. I can only assume more mild spring-like temperatures.
Yep. You know, at this point, most everyone can predict what's going to happen today and tomorrow, right? I had a beautiful Sunday, Bishop, Utah Lake. No ice on that lake. I know I've said that a lot this winter, but it's just shocking, right? We should have colder weather here in the valleys, but we're just not getting it. High pressure to the north, low pressure to the south. More storms lined up out here in the Pacific, hoping that those guys can break down this high pressure and bring in some storm systems. So, core of high pressure moves into Utah as early as tomorrow. That's going to keep us with plenty of sunshine and quiet weather. That high shifts off to Colorado by Saturday, and I think Friday, Saturday timeframe, southern Utah could see some clouds, maybe a mountain sprinkle. It's not the main event. Waiting on the meat and potatoes, we could still see a couple of showers Monday, but that actually looks weaker. Tuesday into Wednesday, we have a better chance to get some of these storms going here at Valley Rain Mountain Snow, potentially a snowflake mixing into the valley. System of our next storm track is diving to the south. I think the best chance for above normal precip February 9th through the 13th is likely going to be down in southern Utah and, of course, out there towards the Arizona area. So first storm dives off, but we're hoping the other storms hold together and impact Utah directly. I got Panguitch down for 57, 69 in St. George. Across the north, well, running above normal by about 10 to 15, even 16 degrees in some areas. Minimal haze today, but still visible in spots. You've got temperatures topping right around 55. St. George, you're going to go for 69 to 70, and then it's upper 60s all the way through Sunday and even into Monday now. But Tuesday, hey, how about it? Chance for some showers. Wasatch Front, you've got 55 to 56. Haze, not thick, but out there. And then we start to see changes Monday and Tuesday. Hey, we're starting out our second week of February with something different. We'll take it.
We got something to talk about there. Thank you much there, Matt. Taking a look at your morning commute, I had something to talk about. Now it just kind of cleared out, which I guess is good, right? You've got I-15 headed north through South Salt Lake, right near on I-80. There was a crash here just moments ago. It just cleared, and that's kind of been the story of the morning. Any blips that we've seen, they've cleared up pretty quickly. So on the map, it still shows you where that crash was, but as you can see, so much in the green out there this morning. Anywhere you go, you should have a smooth commute outside the normal slowdowns. Lori?
All right, Brian, thank you. In consumer headlines this morning, the U.S. supply of cattle is at a 75-year low, forcing some meat processors to take a financial hit. Data from the Department of Agriculture shows the price of beef rose by more than 16% last year. The Ag Department released a semi-annual cattle report that found U.S. cattle herds had shrunk by 300,000 last year. The shortage means processors will ultimately have to pay higher prices, and likely you will as well. Your favorite snacks might be getting a little cheaper. PepsiCo, which makes brands like Doritos, Lay's, and Cheetos, says it's slashing prices in response to customer complaints about cost. PepsiCo says they recognize customers are feeling the financial strain and say they plan to cut prices by about 15%. PepsiCo says retailers still set final shelf prices and savings may vary by store, but you should start seeing lower prices this week. While homebuyers seem to have an advantage in the housing market these days, renting may be the smarter move. According to a new study from LendingTree, it found that homebuyers in the U.S. are paying nearly 27% more than renters each month. Here in Utah, Provo has the largest difference, with homeowners paying $671 more. In Salt Lake City, the average difference is $554. In Ogden, it's $405. The study found that in every metro across the U.S., renting is cheaper than owning a home. All right, let's go to Italy now. The first formal presentation since the 2034 Winter Olympics was awarded to Salt Lake City. Utah Olympic leaders gave the International Olympic Committee an update on the state's progress and plans. The biggest focus was on venues, which are already built. And what the IOC really loved about that plan is something called the Athletes Initiative. Organizers say Utah will be providing housing for the families of the Olympians.
Athletes' families are the backbone of an athlete's success in so many different ways. So for us as a community in Utah to put our arms around athlete families and support them in a new way is something that everyone is really looking forward to.
Lindsey Vonn talked about that in the announcement of those Winter Olympic Games coming to Utah. The IOC did tell Utah's committee to slow down a little bit and not over-prepare for the Games, because you have another 8 years to go. All right, we're just a few days away for the opening ceremony of those Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina. Before that, though, we're hearing big news coming out of Italy. Speaking of Lindsey Vonn, she says she will ski in the Olympics 1 week after a crash where she was airlifted off the mountain in Switzerland. It was an absolutely packed house for the press conference that took place at 8 o'clock our time here. Everyone on pins and needles would one of the best women skiers ever compete for skiing in the Olympics after this crash. Well, she began by spelling out her injuries, then said they won't keep her down.
It's already been one of the best chapters of my life so far. I think this would be the best comeback I've done so far. Definitely the most dramatic, that's for sure.
Yeah, dramatic, yes, because unlike other injuries where she had time to recoup, this time she gets a week. Vonn says she skied when she arrived in town. She wasn't in pain. She'll have a chance to test the knee in some training races before the actual competitions begin. If you'd like to learn more about this story, you can go to our website, KSLTV.com. Matt Gephardt did a whole story on it. Another major name for Utah now getting ready for the Olympics is Mary Bocock. Right now, the alpine skiing team is getting ready to compete against the world's top athletes. And when we saw Bocock yesterday, she was all smiles.
I'm just trying to take it all in and get all the experience I can to hopefully be successful here and then hopefully in more to come as well.
Bocock says that she'll only qualify for the Olympics after taking the place of another skier that got sick right before a big event. She took her chance, and she is now on the Olympic team. The women's alpine ski team will hit the slopes on Sunday. You can catch all the events live right here on KSL. And people in the Olympic city of Cortina are enjoying some fresh snow this morning. They say it's a relief after some disappointing winters over the last few years.
Very lucky because I come here, not in Cortina, near Cortina, every year, and it's a long time. I've never seen so much snow in this period.
At the very same time, though, Cortina is a city under construction. Workers at every Olympic venue rushing to the finish line, and in some cases, even jackhammering and still pouring concrete. Matt and Sam, Deanie, Mike will be in Italy for the duration of the games, bringing you exclusive content and following a record number of Olympic athletes with Utah ties, all right here on KSL. And 2 days after the opening ceremony, which happens on Friday, on Sunday, KSL is your place to catch Super Bowl 60. Debbie Worthen and Jeremiah Jensen will be in the Bay Area for the big matchup, highlighting everything from the big game and Utah's local connections. It's this Sunday, February 8th, right here on KSL. Matt, we heard him talking about the snow that was falling in Cortina. We're having the very same problem that they've been having over the last few winters, that they weren't getting any snow. We're certainly not getting any snow right now.
Yeah, we need to change it very soon here, especially in the mountaintops, right? The valleys can go without the snow and we'll be okay, but we need that snowpack for sure, without a doubt, in the mountaintops. Wanted to show you, hey, it's actually happening. We talked about the chance for a beautiful sunrise. It is gorgeous out there. We've got pinks, purples, oranges. It's lighting up. 26 in Provo, 31 in Salt Lake, and a 24 in Logan. You get into central and southern Utah, more 20s, more 30s. High pressure doesn't want to move. He's our best friend, never leaves our side, and that'll be the deal through the next 3+ days. Look at those temperatures bumping up into the upper 50s by Friday. This quiet pattern, Brian, should hold through Sunday. Then we start to see some changes.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you much there, Matt. You're not looking forward to your morning drive through Lehigh this morning. Now, there's no crash or anything to warn you about, but this is Pioneer Crossing right before you get on I-15 there in Lehigh. And look at the line of cars all at a standstill. This is normal traffic for people in Lehigh this morning. So just give you a sense for what it's like. Be grateful you're not in that. Now, as far as the drive times you can expect coming through Lehigh, through that area right through here, Pioneer Crossing to I-15, it's a little more severe. The same thing goes on 2100 North, and then coming the other direction from Timpanogos Highway to I-15, it's slow down out there too. Lori?
All right, Brian, thank you. Well, taking a look at these young centenarians, these are students at Altaview Elementary celebrating their 100th day of class by dressing up as 100-year-olds. The Canyon School District saying the halls were a living time machine and the cuteness level was off the charts. Utah's new favorite baby giraffe finally has a new name. The Hogle Zoo posted on their social media pages that their cutest new addition is named Hal. Unfortunately, Hal and his mom have not been visible to guests, at least for now. They're being given time to bond and adjust in a quiet, comfortable environment, while the animals and health teams continue to support Hal as he grows up. He looks like a Hal, doesn't he? Thanks so much for joining us for this segment of KSL News Now on this Wednesday morning. We leave you with a live look at downtown Salt Lake City waking up. Have a great day, everyone.